Welcome back to Studio 5. You know, divorce is not something we set out wanting to achieve, but it still happens, and we're all touched by it, whether it's our own marriage or maybe a family member or a friend. In Hollywood, you might have been surprised by the recent breakup of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes, but what was really surprising was the quickness of the divorce that was filed and finalized in less than 2 weeks.
We're not using Tom and Katie as marriage role models necessarily, but the question we're posing today, based on how they handled their divorce, did they do something right? Studio 5's relationship coach Matt Townsend is here, and is there such thing, I like this phrase, is there such thing as an intelligent divorce?
Yes, yeah, so intelligent would probably for me be maybe something that was less based in emotion and more based in just intelligent movement towards healthy goals. That's a lot of stuff.
Which is hard to accomplish when so many emotions are involved.
Well, and think about it. What we tend to do is that what drives us, what motivates us in the divorce tends to be anger, frustration, hatred, vengeance. And if those are the keys of the motivating decisions and how we're going to make our decisions, you're setting yourselves up. So part of our goal, and a lot of this comes from an article in Psychology Today by Mark Banchik, who is an MD, a psychiatrist, that basically says you got to start taking over, you got to start getting your head in the game a little bit more. So I've got a few of his points and a few of mine. Because in divorce, there's honestly, and I've done a ton of this, because that's how I started, was working with couples that didn't like each other. But I found you can have a very powerful, strong, peaceful divorce with pain still. And the number one person that gets hurt in the divorce is the kids. So an intelligent divorce may not even be for our viewers, it may be more importantly for the kids. So let's give you 3 rules. Rule number 1 for an intelligent divorce is to allow your children to remain innocent. They did nothing wrong here.
But that's so difficult because so often they are used as pawns or weapons in the whole thing. You're trying to maneuver and manipulate the other person, and you use the kids.
And part of it is because we keep thinking what we're doing is for the best interest of the children. But when you really start thinking about it, and this is where the intelligence comes in, if we get out of our low reactive brain, the fight or flight brain, and get into our higher brain of really, how do we want our kids to remember us? How do we want our kids to remember this divorce? Do they want to know that they were pawns? And one of my rules is everybody's eventually going to be 30. So all your kids are eventually going to be 30, and they're going to know if you were intelligent in the divorce or if you were just mean. And so part of letting the kids remain innocent is we don't talk through our children. We don't have the mom get the check through the children. Dad doesn't write a check and hand it to mom, and the fights don't go through the children. All conversations in a divorce should be between the adults.
Well, what about, because when I think of innocence, I think of either information you have or information you don't have. So what do you say to that child to kind of navigate that relationship?
When I work with couples, we sit them down and we teach the couple what we're going to do to have a united front. So we actually say, this is what we're going to say about our divorce. This is, we're not going to say anything other than that. If they bring something up because something had happened that was an infidelity or something, we're going to always just defer that back to the parent that had the infidelity. But the goal of that is a united front. And notice how much intelligence it takes to go sit down and talk out what we're going to say and what we're not going to say. You could just say, your daddy left because he's a scumbag, okay? Daddy's a scumbag. The problem is you can't badmouth daddy without badmouthing part of the child. The child is part of daddy, and a little 6-year-old can't discern which part's daddy, which part's him. So one of the things that's hard is we want to be intelligent enough that the child can love both of you, and even if we made mistakes, that he can still accept both of you and not have to start deciding which one of you or which part of him.
But you're talking about having a united front. You can't have how can you have a united front when you couldn't even have a united marriage?
Well, see,
how can you become united now? It's so emotional.
Well, and especially because the courts aren't necessarily set up to make you have a united front. So when I work with couples, I work a ton with couples that are on the verge of divorce or are divorcing. So I just sit them down and we start negotiating. Instead of talking about what we want in this settlement, which is a point we'll bring up, the tangibles, the separation, we eventually want to focus on some of the intangibles. So let's get to that. But there's something before we have to handle, which is the second rule. Don't let your emotion drive the divorce. If your emotion is in charge, you are going to set yourself up for major stupidity. The biggest mistakes I see in a divorce are when there's vengeance and anger and hatred. So somehow I would go deal with those feelings, not even with your spouse or your ex that you're divorcing. I'd go get therapy, I'd go get a good friend, I'd find a way to deal with the emotion and get the emotion out. There's a quote I use all the time that says, negative emotion hijacks meaning. So once you're negatively charged, all the meaning goes away. I've seen people fight over the dumbest things you've ever seen and split them up in the divorce, and at the end of the divorce you could have just switched lists and everyone would have been happy with the other list. So in the end, if you're too emotional, you're not going to get what you want anyway. And this emotion then makes us focus on things instead of beings. So this last one we're going to work on is focus your attention in the divorce on the intangibles as much as the tangibles. For example, with our children, we want them to feel loved. We want to have memories. We want to know that we're connected and loving with them. Those are the intangible things we want. But then we fight about parent time. We fight about where they're going to stay and who gets what beds. The minute you're fighting about beds, just because you have time set aside in the parenting plan doesn't mean you're going to create connection. So as a parent that's divorcing, I would make sure you're focusing more on the intangibles than the tangibles. The kids aren't going to remember where the beds went.
Yeah.
But the kids are going to remember if dad got time and if he used it appropriately.
So with the Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes divorce, what they've been applauded for across the board is good PR, right?
Yeah.
Good PR, handling that
quick
divorce.
handling.
In some sense, when you're parenting through a divorce, does that require good PR?
Tons of PR. It's all PR. It's all PR. And there's two levels of PR. It's PR with your friends and your peers, save face. It's also PR with your children. In the end, the children will be 30 and they will know how messed up both of you are. Yeah. And it'll be very clear what happened. So you're never going to run away from that. So, but you can kind of, I mean, I have a couple right now that one's sister-in-law is saying all this smack out in the community, and the sister-in-law has no idea what the wife, whose husband cheated on him, has been struggling with. So now the wife's like, so do I just let this out now? Do I just go tell everybody what he did? Because here we go. So it starts to be game on. So part of what I would do just for the rest of us is stay out of everyone else's divorce. Yeah. None of you know. None of you have a clue, and as a parent, it's about the children. Let them be innocent. Make this about your character. The best way to find peace is not in your settlement. Settlements do not bring peace in divorce. Character does. So if you don't have character going through your divorce, you won't have peace even if you have a good settlement.
I love the idea that when the kids are 30, they'll know if you had the character or not. They'll know what happened.
You'll look them right in the eye and they'll all know.
The answers will come out. You have a date night coming up, right?
A great date night. I love this topic.
And this is good for this, the art of positive relating. It's about how, instead of talking and fixing your marriage from all the messed up things that aren't working, we're going to show you how to start creating success by what's worked and what could work in the future. August 24th, it's Friday, August 24th, 7 p.m. down at Larry Miller Conference Center. Tons of fun. Just go to datenightswithmatt.com.
They fill it fast, so get your spot now. Matt, great stuff.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much.